Shalom all. Ariel Bar-Tzadok here from the Kosher Torah School from koshertorah.com. We are now going to do something new. We are broadcasting live on YouTube, B'Sha'a Tova U'B'Mazal Tov, and we are going to begin a series of online lessons from the Sefer Etz Hayim. You know, it's funny, I don't know exactly how that shows up on the videos, but when I hold the book up, it shows the Hebrew backwards. But how does it look there? Oh, it comes out right. Son of a... Yeah. Mrs. is over there. The Rabbanit's over there. She's minding my back, make sure I don't mess things up there. So she's showing me. It looks very nice. You see, most people edit this kind of live stuff out. I never do. For those of you who don't already know me, I believe in giving it to you. I use the word raw. What you see is what you get here at our Kosher Torah School. What you see of me is what you get. All the mistakes, everything else, everything goes live. That's just the way it is. So, as we say in Hebrew, kachazeh. I even have to wear my reading glasses now because I'm going to be reading from the Sefer. But anyway, getting back to the point of what we're going to be doing here. The Sefer Etz Hayim of Rabbi Chaim Vital is considered the classic in the teachings of the Kabbalah. Normally, we teach the Etz Hayim, which if you go on our koshertorah.com, Kosher Torah School website, you'll see I've taught the Etz Hayim for many, many years. There are sections here in the Etz Hayim that almost no one ever teaches. And in my opinion, they're probably some of the most important foundational teachings in the entire teachings. The section that we're going to cover is actually, I've taught before, it's the final section in the Sefer Etz Hayim. It's called the 50th Gate. And it's called Kitzur Abiyah, which means a brief review of the order of the worlds. So what this discussion is, what this chapter covers, is the whole order of the reality of the universe in which we all live. And this is such a profound teaching because you're going to find teachings in this Kabbalistic Etz Hayim Sefer, which you're going to find its origins not only back in Greco-Roman philosophy, but actually in Greco-Roman medicine and all kinds of things. You're going to see a lot of historical teachings and things that merge together in what has now become, if you will, the foundations of what today we call Kabbalah. And of course, the way I teach this stuff, I make sure that it's relevant, practical, down to earth, unlike so many of my peers who all they do when they teach is they read words, they quote to you a commentary, and they're talking to you about these nebulous worlds out there in Never Never Land without ever making the connection about what it all really means. If you can't bring it down to earth, all right, you want to talk Kabbalah speak? Fine. All of the or, light, that was supposed to be like bringing down from Shemaim, it's supposed to come down here to Malchut. Everything we talk about, using Kabbalah speak now, is what we call Tikkun HaShekhinah, rectification of the Shekhinah. 1 second there. Got to go get my trusty bottle of water from Eretz Yisrael. Actually, technically, it's not from Eretz Yisrael. It's from the Golan. And Golan technically is not part of the biblical Israel. Hold on 1 second. Join me. We'll say a bracha. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam she'akol niyeh b'dvaro. So many of my peers drink out of nice little cups. Not here. I was recently in Europe, in Paris. We were there for a few months. You know, me and the new Rabbanit got together and stuff. And, you know, just to digress for a minute, the society there is so much more sophisticated than we are. To sit and drink water from a bottle online, I can't see the great rabbis who I've met there would ever do that in a million years. But as I share with the Rabbanit, I said, you come to America, it's the wild, wild west. We don't give all that sophistication goes out the door once you get off the plane. So I'm sorry, you know, that's just the way it is. I guess all those years living in Tennessee, I don't consider myself a redneck or a hillbilly or anything of the kind, but no moonshine. No. We have the moonshine. We do. I'm not a big drinker. I never have been. I always teased in the past about having the moonshine on the desk there. I never really did. But that's besides the point. Anyway, getting back to realism. Tikkun HaShekhinah. Tikkun Shekhinah, the rectification of Malchut, the rectification of the divine presence. Yes, major element and point of that is the social importance of how we treat women in our society. That's really the foundation of it all. But it's far more than that. It's how we treat nature. It's how we treat ourselves. It's the relationship of the inner and outer reality of our lives. Call it the physical with the spiritual, or the external with the internal. All the kind of Kabbalah speak language we'll get into as we go. So this entire section of the Etz Hayim, we're going to go into it in depth because I want it to be understood. Is number one, it's going to make you really understand what Kabbalah is all about, because that's what this is. Again, so many of my peers, this is something that my old teacher, Rabbi Meir Levi Alav Shalom, he told me that, and this is back in the day, he said so many people read the books, but never really understand what they actually mean, because they continue to ascribe the lessons to some external reality as opposed to an internal one. And as we're going to read right here in the text as we proceed, you're going to see all of the Kabbalah is internal. I'm sure for those of you who are familiar with the diagram of the 10 Sefirot, right? You have the right column of the Sefirot, the left column in the center. Whenever you're looking at the three columns of the Sefirot, you always see that the columns are presented as if you are looking at them internally as opposed to externally opposite you. So the right column is here on the right side. Now, the only time that the right column is on the right side is when you're looking at it from within you. Because if I was looking at the right column from opposite me, the right column would be on that side, not this side. So therefore, understand, even from the basis of how we describe the Sefirot, we're talking about internal realities, internal worlds. Well, our text of the Kitzur, the abridged understanding of the universes, is going to begin with a study of the outside world, the real outside world, before we can go in and understand the inside world. Why is that important? Number one, so you can actually make a difference between the two and recognize that we are talking about internal realities. We're not talking about external realities anymore, that you would mistake external realities for internal ones. If I want to talk to you about mountains and oceans and lakes and air, you're not going to all of a sudden mythologicalize or metaphorize, symbolize, what I'm talking about and talk about internal. No, you're going to look outside, right? So when you're talking about inside stuff, the worlds, that you have to recognize is inside. You will never make Kabbalah relevant. You will never make Kabbalah realistic if you, in quote, Kabbalahize it and try to misunderstand it. There are a number of rabbis out there online who actually critique Kabbalistic teachings. And I've chatted with a couple of them. You know, it's my policy here at the Kosher Torah School. I never mention any names for any reason, good, bad, or whatever. And I shared with them, I said, you really got to understand what the Kabbalistic system really is. If you look at it externally, then yeah, there could be a lot of theological and philosophical problematic elements within it. And that's been noticed for centuries, not just by me or others today. But when you understand it properly, as the internal system that it was originally meant to be, all of those things just fade away into nothing. And you recognize what we have is a very powerful transformational system that can actually, when applied properly, make your life a hell of a lot better than it is today. And that's really what the power of Kabbalah is. Kabbalah is not just a metaphysical philosophy that began in France and Spain somewhere around the 1200s or the like. No. What I teach, the derech that I teach here at our Kosher Torah School, goes back to the original Talmudic Sitrei Torah traditions, which is very different from the later, in quote, French-Spanish Kabbalah of the Zoharic set. Its origins, of course, are in the prophetic Kabbalistic school, not of Abulafia, but of Ezekiel and Isaiah. This is the original teachings that we teach here. It's experiential, it's realistic, it's down to earth. And again, it's what changes our lives for the better. Now, even though we are reading Chaim Vital's text, and remember, Chaim Vital did not actually write the book Etz Hayim. Well, the lessons therein are his, but the book in its present form was put together, I'm pretty sure after he passed, by Rabbi Meir Poppers, We actually edited and put it in the order that we have today. It's become the, in quote, staple of all of the, in quote, Torah of the Ari. And even though, again, most of us still learn Etz Hayim, Etz Hayim only covers like the first section of the Etz Hayim. It's these sections of the Etz Hayim that really never get taught. So that's why we're teaching it here. Gate 50, as you will see, has a lot of profound lessons for it, and I think it's going to make things very, very relevant. There are other gates not discussed in my Otzot classes and the like, and of course I teach those, as many other things, to our private, body of Kosher Torah School student body. So if any of you want to actually join in my public, not my private classes, I should say, consider becoming a monthly supporter of our school. It's really easy to sign up, and it becomes very personable, simply because not only can you have access to our private classes, you have access to me. So when you have questions, like you call me up and we sit and we actually chat. Yeah, I actually give you time to speak. All right, guys speak with me personally. Women will speak with me in the Rabbanit or the Rabbanit, and we work these things out. Whatever issues or questions or even counseling, and that's what we do. Again, the whole purpose of our Kosher Torah School isn't just to provide for you academic information, but experiential. I could even call it information. Experiential information. Does that even sound right? Experiential practice. It's all about Tikkun Shekhinah. What does that mean? Connecting. Malchut. Remember the lowest thing here? Keter goes all the way down to the bottom. That's to us, the conscious mind, the physical world. That's Malchut. And only when we make the connection, everything gets down here, can we then have Or Yashar and Or Choser. Or Choser means it goes back up. Then you complete the cycle. But what happens if the light goes down and it gets hindered by the klipot, right? Because it can't get down to the physical world, no problem. Or if the light makes it down, you try to get it up and it's blocked by those klipot again, trying to go up. So klipot, don't think of them so religiously as just sins. Think of them as the blemishes in the Asiatic, Yitzhak, and Bariatic world. And what are those? Real simple. Physical acts we do, Asiyah. The emotional feelings we do, Yitzhira. And the mental thoughts that we think, Bariah. Every time you allow craziness to go on in your mind up there, and you allow your thoughts to run wild and negativity, that's called Klipa Bariah. Every time you allow your emotions to go out of control and you're acting all crazy, that's what we call the Klipa Yitzhira. Every time you're doing bad things physically, that's called the Klipa Asiyah. That's just the way it is. Those things mess us up. They not only mess us up, they mess up other people as well. Everybody gets hurt. So bottom line, these are also called the three levels of the klipot, the three levels that Ezekiel and Eliyahu and Navi saw as they ascended into the Merkabah. All this has to be dealt with. And it's all personal, internal stuff. So rather than having to spend thousands and thousands of dollars on psychotherapy, which may or may not work, we have this system of our Torah. We have this system of our Kabbalah. And when you apply these lessons realistically and practically, like the Pasuk says in Tehillim, Torah Hashem Tamimah, the Torah of Hashem Tamimah, don't look at that as pure. It means simplicity, being nice and simple, grounded down to earth. Mashivat Nafesh. It restores, revives, revitalizes the nefesh level of soul, which corresponds to Malchut, which is what this is all about. So on that note, Be'ezrat Hashem, I'm going to put on the good old reading glasses here, and let's rock and roll. All right. Blah, 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 blah. Like I'm saying here, ha, ha, ha. He's not drinking from a jar. You thought somebody's commenting about the moonshine stuff there. All right. If you guys really want to see some moonshine, believe that they're in one of the future classes, I'll bring you some of the little moonshine. You're not going to see me drink it. Right? All right. For the record, I'll make it public. All right. I am an old dude, in spite of however I look. But I will tell you, and as God is my witness, and I thank God for it, I've never been drunk ever a single time in my ever life. All right? Don't like alcohol, don't drink, don't smoke, don't drink, none of that stuff. Ugh. My good old Shaolin discipline always kept me strong and on that fine line for that. And it's a shame we never had that Shaolin discipline in modern Torah world, because a lot of people in our Torah world today, they go all get involved in all kinds of crazy stuff, which ends up hurting them terribly, simply because they lacked the discipline that we once had in our prophetic path, which I still teach. The only place you find that today is kind of like in the military martial art traditions and the stuff like that. Some people say, how can I merge both worlds? And the answer is, I'm not merging anything. It was originally our Torah way in the first place. I'm just going back to the beginning, going back to the source. And I encourage all of you to recognize that that's really important. That's the Tikkun HaShekhinah, Tikkun HaMalchut that we're talking about. So, on that note, let's begin. Let's talk about these worlds that we're talking about here. Let's get down and dirty, as they say. Let's get practical. So, again, I'm reading from the Etz Hayim. This version of mine is the new version of the commentary of Bet Lehem Yehuda, which is the commentary to the Etz Hayim written by great Mikubal, Rabbi Yehuda Fatiyah. And I don't really use commentary that much unless I have to. I try to like to just stay with the text, explain the text as we go. And is it available in English? I wish. The only time you're going to see this available in English is going to be in these classes right now. So maybe someday at some time, somebody will actually transcribe these lessons and actually put it down what we're talking about here. And I guess that's the only way it's ever going to come out. But I have seen the Etz Hayim fully translated en français, in French, when I was in Paris recently. I was amazed. They got stuff in Paris in French. Gosh, we English-speaking world have no idea. I mean, gosh, they're way ahead of us at stuff. It was really rather humbling. But all right, Baruch Hashem. Let's move on. He opens up, being that this is the conclusion of the Etz Hayim. Now remember, as I said, Chaim Vital never edited this book. This is put together after him. So the forming of the gates, etc., and so on. Even though the literature and the writings, of course, is Chaim Vital, the later editing, of course, is Meir Poppers. But this essay is a continuation, these chapters are a continuation of what came before. That's why it begins with the words, after I've described everything previous. So he states here, now we will explain in brief the matter of the worlds. We've already described all of this, he says, above, meaning in the previous gates, which again, I'll teach those previous gates to my Kosher Torah School student body. Again, invite you all to join in if you'd like. But here we go. No. Ki arba olamot abiyahem. There are four worlds. We call them Atzilut, Beriah, Yitzira, Asiya. All right? Adu tuaqad. I have to practice my French. Oh, I got notices coming in here, but they're not supposed to be coming in. I don't know how to turn those things off. But anyway, so hopefully that won't bother us too much. You know, I'm not the computer savvy person. The Rabbanit knows more about this stuff than I do. But anyway, four worlds is we're talking about. Where are these worlds? All right, I have the Hubble telescope. Rob, I can't answer computer questions right now when we're doing this. All right, four worlds. I look out in the Hubble telescope. I only see one universe out there. Where is this Yetzirah, this Beriah, and this Atzilut? All too many people make the terrible mistake of thinking that these worlds are outside there, somewhere on the other side of the rainbow. Ain't so. These are worlds called Pnimiim. They are inner worlds, meaning inner from our personal experience. Remember, the world called Yetzirah is the dimensional plane of emotions. Beriah, the dimensional plane of the intellect. Atzilut, the dimensional plane of a higher reality beyond intellect. We call it spirit. I don't know if there's actual words, imagination, ideal, that's the words Plato would use to describe it. And then, of course, above that is the world of pure will. Ak Adam Kadmon. So, where is the world of will? Where is the world of imagination? Where is the world of thought? Where is the world of emotions? What kind of spaceship can I take to go visit my emotions as I would visit Mars or Venus? What spaceship can I take to go and visit the world of thought? Actually, it was very interesting. I remember years and years ago in Star Trek The Next Generation, one of the earlier seasons, I don't remember which, they had this guy on board called the Traveler, and he zoomed There's the Starship Enterprise outside of this universe into a realm in which I remember, Captain Picard character saying, "Where are we? We're outside the universe," in which thought became real, which was actually a very interesting presentation for a television program to say that there are other dimensional realities in which that which we understand as the laws of space and time are radically different from what we understand now. So this is how we must come to understand these worlds. In Kabbalah, all the rabbis, my peers, will tell you, oh, they're, in quote, spiritual worlds. What the heck does that mean? If you fail to understand the reality of their application, then you're not learning lesson 1 about what they mean. And if you don't learn lesson 1, as far as I'm concerned, you can never learn properly lessons 2 beyond, right? Lesson 2 and beyond. So ultimately recognize all the worlds of Yetzirah are experienced within. All the worlds of Biriyah are experienced within. All the worlds of Atzilut are experienced within. Twiddling my thumbs here, my fingers for a second here, just to let you sink in on that. What does that mean? Did you hear what I said, or did you hear what I didn't say? I'm telling you that access to the worlds is from within. Where are they really? I didn't say the worlds were in you. I'm saying that the worlds are accessed from within you. That's why we call them olamot penimiim, inner worlds. They're not all up here in my brain. It's not all in my head. There are other parallel realities all around us. And we call them inner realities, again, because access is only from within ourselves. And that is the secret key here. We do have access to these worlds. And as we're going to see, as Chaim Vital is going to tell us over and over again, these 4 worlds are in everything, at every level, at every layer. Because no matter where you go physically, no matter what state you're in emotionally, no matter what thought realm or thought pattern you're in intellectually, no matter where you go in your imagination, you have access to these inner realities, and they have access to you. So this is how we interact with worlds. Inner, meditative, prophetic traditions. That's what it's all about, as opposed to just thinking this is dry academic knowledge about some external realities which don't exist as that. So let's move on. 4 worlds. Now, hine, hatesha rakiim hem tesha bechinot rishonot asiyah. The 9 rakiim, heavens. These are the 9 first aspects of the world of Asiyah. Now understand, Rakia means heavens. In ancient Greco-Roman cosmology, which was adopted almost fully by our sages, Talmudically and Kabbalistically, we refer to these 9 levels of the heavens, each level being the 7 names of the planets. You have the sphere of the moon, the sphere of the sun, the sphere of Mars and Venus and Jupiter and Saturn, the 7 known planets. You have the sphere which surrounds them. These are known as the Reki'im, or the heavens. And you can look to ancient cosmology, and you'll see that this is the pattern, the outline. I'm sure if you Google this stuff, there are rather curious fringe element groups in modern orthodoxy who still hold by the geocentric order of the universe, which is what this is based upon. That means that the Earth is viewed as the center of the universe, and you have all these overlapping spheres of heaven. All right? You have major groups, not mentioning any names, this is my policy. They still hold by that geocentric, that the Earth is the center of the physical universe. Despite the fact that it's been proven so overwhelmingly false by science, we have a heliocentric model where what you recognize the sun is the center of our solar system, and the Earth and everybody else goes around it. How do we know that's true? Because the Earth, as we're going to see, is Malchut. The sun is Tiferet. And doesn't Malchut always go around Tiferet, not the other way around? So it makes sense. But talk to those people who swear by the geocentric order today, and they're going to say what they're going to say. Whatever. So understand now that these 9 levels of the heavens that we're talking about here does not come from a Jewish source. That's what I want you to understand. And yet it's quoted here as if that's the fact, Jack. Well, okay. Understand now Our sages throughout the centuries always adopted the best of science as they understood to be an accurate portrayal of reality. Maimonides did this. All the great sages of the Talmud does this. The lesson we learn from this is a real simple one. Don't go messing with science. If science says something and they can prove it or verify it as best as we can, taking something, from, a theory and making a hypothesis, whatever, so be it. Understand the value of science, and this is why it's so important that we have a secular education. We learn the sciences, we learn math, just like our sages of the Talmud did, just like Rabbi Chaim Vital does. What do you think? He just picks this up out of the blue? No, he had to learn these things from some source, and the sources were, for the most part, not Jewish, that again were adopted into Judaism. It's always been the case. So it's important that we understand that, because so many people today, there's such a movement to say anything that's not ethnically Jewish, I don't touch. That's ridiculous. Contradicts the foundation of what our sages taught when they said, who is wise, one who learns from everyone. So you learn from everyone, just like our sages did. So therefore, the library you see behind you here is all my Jewish books, my Torah books, my Kabbalah books. I can't point the camera over here. You know, the books in comparative religion. You have the books over here and all types of philosophy and sciences and everything else. I'm not an expert in any of these things other than the realm of Torah, but at least I try to expose myself and learn. And I emphasize to you that's such an important thing that we all have to do. So please, let's be realistic, following the ways of our sages. Otherwise, how do you explain the existence of Greco-Roman teachings here, geocentric model, which in the days of Chaim Vital, I mean, in all due respect, I don't think Chaim Vital ever knew of Copernicus or Galileo or any of these other guys. I mean, yeah, they were around the same time period, but this is what the common scientific model was in the day. So based upon that, Rabbi Chaim Vital teaches the order and structure of the universe, not as Torah from Sinai, from God, but as rather a scientific understanding of the day. And if Chaim Vital were alive today, he would have been writing other words based upon modern science, rather than just stomping his stance. It says in the book, it says in the book. No, you got to understand what it says in the book and why the book says it. Or otherwise, what we call in Hebrew an am haaretz. Yeah. To my peers, tilmad. Okay, let's go. So these other realms that's been spoken about in traditional cosmology, those are called the 9 levels in the Asiatic realm. That's what he calls them, the 9 levels of Asiya. But the lowest level called Vilon, Bishara Aretz Hazot, and the rest of this physical world, he bechinat malchut ta'asiya. This is called the malchut of Asiya. Now, the sky around us is given the name Vilon. There are 7 heavens spoken about in the Gemara, tractate Hagigah. And the 7 heavens, the lowest level is this called the Vilon, which is our physical sky. The others are the dimensional planes that are inner than in our reality there. Whatever. Anyway, my point again is that this physical earth, right, the one that we're like living on here, all of this is called Malchut, or the lowest level of the Asiatic plane. So essentially, our physical universe is only 1/10 of the reality of physical reality. Now you could say, okay, that's cool. Where's the rest of physical reality? But it's still doing a little bit of modern scientific stuff. Have you ever heard of these recent discoveries of what they call the dark matter universe? That we are surrounded. I think they said that this physical world, this whole physical galaxy is only like 5% or so of the full nature of the reality of our universe. And that there's this whole overlapping surrounding universe, what they call dark matter. And surrounding that is dark energy. Dark, not like dark like in bad, evil, like Darth Vader stuff, but dark meaning unknown. That's the way we have to understand the reality that we are aware of, even scientifically, that there are other realities in and around us. Now, in our prophetic teachings, we've always not only been aware of these places through the power of prophetic meditation, we actually project thought and consciousness and expansion, and we travel in all these different places. You have experiences of this, like in the books of Hanoch, Enoch, about the ascents of Rabbi Akiva, Rabbi Ishmael, where in which you go beyond this limited Malchut of Asiyah, and you go into the Yesod of Asiyah. And that begins the Yetziratic experience of this greater reality. It's not physical. You can't take a spaceship there. The USS Enterprise is not going to get you there. It's mind travel. And mind travel, soul travel, if you will, is how we travel. That's just the way these things are. So, now, Hine, Ratzah Ma'atzil Yitbarach Shemo, Shebezo ha'aretz hatachtona yeba kol klalot abiyah. Very important point. We're at the bottom. So you might think, the dregs, we're at the lowest level. But Rabbi Hayim says that it was the desire of the emanator, blessed be his name, that this lowest level would include within it everything. So this world of Malchut of Asiyah, or Malchut of Malchut, if you will, is the Beit Kibul. It is the receiver of everything. All the higher worlds come and they congeal down here. So this lowest world is not boring, bad, evil, disgusting, and therefore I have to spend my entire life living an ascetic lifestyle to divorce myself from this physical world. So finally I can go and ascend above and call this world good riddance, adios, right? Aduma. No, it doesn't work like that. This physical world, we said, is the bottom of a link, of a connection. And that link is energetic. You all understand, like positive and negative and batteries and charges, AC, DC energy, and all the rest of that jazz. Well, if you have the top, it is intimately connected to the bottom. Because only when you go to the bottom can you then go to the top. So if you got the top and you got the bottom, which is really the top? Which is really the bottom? Looking at a circle, where's the top of a circle? I guess anywhere where you point. And opposite would be called the bottom. So this world, this physical world, this Malchut of Asiyah that we're talking about here, you might be familiar with the old Lecha Dodi song that we recite in the opening prayers of the Sabbath. And with regards to the Sabbath, which again is a symbolic representation of this Malchut of Asiyah, we say, Sof Ma'aseh B'machshavat Techila. It is the last act, or the lowest of the worlds, but it was the first one to actually be conceived. So you see, from the beginning, the whole process was to bring about the end. This goes right back into Fiftieth Gate. We say the beginning is in the end and the end is in the beginning. So this is a very important point for those of you who want to look at this physical world as being unclean and disgusting, and I want to be ascetic and I want to separate. That's not our Torah path. We are not of the type to go and put on our loincloths and go live in a cave. Are the temptations of this physical world very powerful that can, if you will, deter our eyes or our hearts or our behaviors from behaving morally, properly, and righteously? Yeah. But the point is to overcome those weaknesses. Not, you can't run away from something and then say, I've overcome. That's not overcome. That's running away. You only overcome when you confront head on and you get through it. So physically speaking, if you're addicted to smoking, there's only one way that you can quit cigarette smoking. It's not by being dropped on a desert, on an island out somewhere in the Pacific Ocean where you have no cigarettes. That's not quitting smoking, because the minute you get back to civilization, then you're going to smoke up a chain. No. The only way you can actually quit smoking is when you have cigarettes right in front of you and you say, I choose not to smoke. The only way you overcome issues emotionally, like anger, is you say, at the time, not that you don't get angry anymore, but the time when you're being pissed off really bad, you want to knock somebody out, and you say, I choose not to be angry anymore. That's what we call teshuvah. That's Rambam, that's Kabbalah, that's everything. So ultimately, everything is down here in this world. Everything is here. We have access to everything. What we got to do is get rid of all this gunk in the middle. That is why we do in quote teshuvah and get rid of all these things that hinder us. Not by running away, but by overcoming. Oh, that's a dirty word. What's that dirty word again? People don't like me using the D word, right? I hear all this talk about the N word and the F word. People forget the D word. It's the worst word of them all. I'm going to get in trouble for even saying the D word, but I'll say it. Ready? Discipline. I said that nasty word. But that's the word that everybody needs to understand. Discipline. We only overcome when we're disciplined. That is how we are able to receive the benefit of all the worlds in this one. That's how we're able to balance it all out. Discipline, what's that word again? What does that mean? Putting everything in its proper time, putting everything in its proper place, and allowing the natural order to flow. How's that for a good definition of discipline? Right? Think about it. V'zehu ba'amo Yisrael asher b'har behem shem yikashru kol arba'ot biyahad kan lamata. So how do we bond all four worlds? He says this only comes about through his people Israel, that he chose them. Shehem yikashru, they're the ones who unite all the four worlds together here below. Oh, now I'm going to get all my peers to yell at me. Why? Notice he didn't say Yehudim. He didn't say Jews. He says his people Israel. So, Ezehu, don't ask the question, Ezehu Yehudi, who is a Jew. I'm not going to talk about who is a Jew. We all know the halachic answer to that. Someone who was born of a Jewish mother or who converts in accordance to halakha. It's really simple. But I'm not asking the question, Ezehu Yehudi. How about Ezehu Yisrael? Because if you really want to understand the identity of Yisrael according to Sod, don't think that it is synonymous with being a Jew. You have many people today who are Jewish, clearly by bloodline, and they are officially, halachically Jewish by every which way. But spiritually speaking, using the metaphor of Kabbalah and the Torah itself, they're at the level called Yaakov, and not at the level called Yisrael. Who is Yisrael? Only those who first were of Yaakov, who have gone through what Yaakov Avinu went through, fighting that, in quote, angel, winning, and therefore meriting the title of Yisrael. So according to Hayim Vital, the understanding is you have, of course, inanimate, vegetable, animal, human consciousness, and then the fifth element of, if you will, the universal person, the one who truly is enlightened. The enlightened one we call Yisrael. That's truly like a fifth element. I only wish all Jews were enlightened. I wish all Jews have ascended to the level of being true Yisrael. Most unfortunately, the level of still being Bnei Yaakov, Bnei Yeshurun, but not true Bnei Yisrael. This is also echoed even in our prayers from Rosh Hashanah through Yom Kippur, when we say Hayom Harat Olam, Hayom Omed B'Mishpat. Today the world, is under judgment, etc. And we say Imke Banim, Imke Abadim. Some of us are like children, sons. Some of us are like servants. And you go into the Kavanot of the Rashash, and the Ariya says, who are called children? Only those who have what we call Atzilutic souls. Everyone else has souls from the lower levels called Bia Tachlonim, which we'll describe as we go on. And only those are called servants. Later Kabbalah, we say the Israel souls, again, those who have the children's souls, Atzilutic souls, called Israel, and those below are not. So most today are not at that level. Most today have the Nefesh level of soul. They only have a perception of that Yaakov, unquote, level of consciousness. True. By every halachic understanding, they are true Jews, and therefore part of, in quote, Yisrael, but that's only at the Pshat level, not the true level of Sod. So how do we merge all of these worlds together, as we've been saying, American style, L'chaim? We merge the worlds together in Yisrael level consciousness. And that is the ones who are able to overcome the Asiatic, Yitziratic, and Bariatic, in quote, klipot, to be able to properly channel Atzilutic consciousness. Now you do have souls that emanate from Atzilut, But for most people who emanate from Atzilut, they're blocked, they're hindered by so many layers and layers of built up gunk on the soul that they never gain access to that level of consciousness. And of course, the process, of course, is peeling away the klipot, getting to the light. Only those who can accomplish that are called truly Yisrael. Just like Yaakov Avinu, it says he fought the angel and won. And that is why he merited the title Yisrael. It's the same thing for each and every one of us. Just because Yaakov Avinu fought and won doesn't mean that we can claim his title. Yeah, we're all technically Bnei Yisrael at the Pshat level. There's no question about that. So don't go putting words in my mouth that I said something other than that. I'm talking about the Sod level of the true nature and identity of what it means to be Yisrael, the higher level of consciousness. I'll share with you this. Many of my peers might not like it, but too bad it's true. Yisrael level of consciousness, don't think that applies only to Jews. You have many, many people around the world from all different walks of life, all different cultures, men, women, Jew, Gentile, whatever, who achieve that level of bond, who achieve that level of consciousness because they're able to deal with their inner stuff. And they become Yisrael. You can have enlightened souls from every walk of life and from every religion. They become, in quote, spiritual Yisrael. No, they're not Jews. They're not halachic. They're not going to be counted in our minyan. That's not even a question. But they are enlightened. And only an ignorant person or a racist person would say, oh, there's no enlightenment amongst the non-Jews. They're all blah, 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 blah. That's racist garbage talk. Any rabbi who talks to you, please dismiss. That's nonsense. You can clearly see in the nature, in the beauty, in the righteousness of individuals, regardless of their religious orientation. Remember what it says in the book of Malachi. Remember Malachi, biblical prophet? Chapter 1, was it verse 10, 11? Go figure it out. From the rising of the sun to the going down thereof, great is my name amongst the nations, Hashem says. Go read the commentaries from the Gemara itself. How is God's name, Yud-Keh-Vav-Keh, God of Israel, known amongst the nations? The Gemara says, even when somebody is offering idol worship on an idolatrous sacrifice to an idol, but in their heart, they're talking to the creator of the universe, the God of God, King of Kings. God looks through the mistake of their intellect and accepts it from them as being pure and righteous. And he says, even these people who are mistaken in their form, but proper in their essence, God accepts. And he uses that to juxtapose that those people have the proper form through Torah mitzvot, and yet their essence is all messed up. So this is a very important, again, lesson for us to learn. Don't be so quick and judgmental to condemn somebody because of their ethnic differences from us. Look at the level of righteousness and unity. That is the Am Yisrael. That is the ones who can perform this gathering below so as to complete the circuit and the cycle of psychic, spiritual energy. Only those who are properly balanced in that respect. The Hatam. What's it all about? Why? Kedei sheyeh behem koach levarer kol birurim sheyesh me'etz hadat tov v'ra be'arba bechinot habiyah. The reason for all of this is so that we will have the power to sift out all of the birurim, the siftings, if you will, that has come out from the tree of knowledge, good and evil, from all the four levels of Abiyah, Atzilut, Beriah, Yetzirah, Siyah. Okay, again, we got to stop moments and describe terms. We're sifting out things. We've been talking about it all through this class. Sifting out things really means, real simple, dealing with your stuff. Sifting out, rectifying Asiyah, changing the way you live, man. Changing what you do. Rectifying Yetzirah, controlling your feelings. Changing Beriah, controlling your thoughts. Right? How many of us have really wild and crazy thoughts? We go nuts with things that go on in our mind. All these people out there, I see it all the time. They got all these wild, crazy, lunatic conspiracy theories out there, right? The aliens are out to eat your brains. The Illuminati are in control. Got all this stuff. And the Jews, they're behind this and that. Oh, please. Right? You know, all this nonsensical thoughts that people allow themselves to think. And emotions, I'm not going to go there. Right? These are the essence and things. We have the power to cleanse ourselves as individuals. This is what the biblical school of prophecy was all about. This is what the Torah was originally meant to perform. And this is the way of enlightenment for us all. And this is how, why do we call the tree of knowledge good and evil? This is how we clean out the tree of knowledge, good and evil. Because knowledge, what is knowledge? The union of inner awareness, intellect with emotion. But you can convince yourself that something is true when it's not. Reminds me of kind of like a black hole. No matter how much light you try to put in, it just sucks it all down. I've seen people with negativity in their heads. And they literally, no matter what you tell them, no matter what you give them, they'll turn from good to bad, they'll turn light to dark. It's all a matter of choice and preference. Needless to say, that ain't our way. Our way is to teach the positive, to transcend, to make a separation between separation between the good and the bad, the light and the dark, the good and the bad of the tree of knowledge. Do you even know the difference? I'll share with you something. We just came back from Alien Con 18 in Baltimore this last week in November. And one of the questioners was talking about some comparative relative morality. He mentioned some culture in which it was the norm in that culture to control their population by murdering female infants. And he was asking some question about moral relativity. I was stunned by such a question. I said, people really have such a lack of moral compass that they have no foundation? The other members of the panel, we were discussing this afterwards. And I spoke up and I said, what, are you nuts? I don't give a dang what the heck these people believe is right and wrong. Murdering innocent infants is always wrong. I don't give a darn what you think about it. Just like murdering 6 million innocent human beings in a Holocaust. I don't care who they are or what they are. It doesn't matter. To dehumanize is the foundation of immorality. Therefore, we talk about rectifying the tree of knowledge, good and evil, at that Yetziradic level. You got to have your emotions in check. You got to know the difference. You can't allow your mind to get twisted and to think thoughts that, oh, sounds rational to me. I mean, after all, if they're not really human and they're vermin, then why not kill them all? I mean, if they are responsible for all the evils in the world, let's just get rid of them. Really? Really? Your humanity is so depraved, you're so disconnected, you're willing to act in such disgusting ways. Obviously, the message of light and Torah is getting through to you. So these are the issues. This is the way we rectify things. When we allow the intellect to mess us up because we are willing to justify all kinds of gunk, we don't have a greater, what we call blemish of the world of Beri'ah more than that. So, hine, guf ha'olam hazeh hu afar chelek hadomem. The physical form of this world he calls the dust, or if you will, the earth, right? This is called the inanimate layer, right? That's, if you will, the malchut of Asiyah. So the physical ground under our feet, that's the malchut, the malchut, the malchut. Okay, we call that by the word afar, which means dust. Is it really dust? Isn't it dirt? Remember, the concept of arma, which again is, if you will, fire, air, water, earth being called not adama, but afar, dust. Also, Greco-Roman in its origin and how we understand the cosmology of the universe. Again, fully adopted within our Torah Kabbalistic traditions. So this physical world, its physical body, again, this is the dust. This is the domem level. V'zeu kli hachitzon hamakif et kol ha'orot ha'penimiyim. And this level is the external vessel, which he uses the word here, makif, surrounds, or encases, better maybe say, all of the inner lights, dugmat hechalot elyonim, in the exact same example of all the upper palaces. So again, our physical world here is, if you will, the outer shell, and all the other dimensional planes are within. We access them through the dimensions of the mind, as we've been saying. V'tocho hu hatzomach. So within this physical realm, there is that which we call the tzomach. The tzomach is the, in quote, vegetable level of soul. All right, and we say that this is a kli to that realm. It's a vessel to that realm called the Ruach level. We'll describe all this. I'll read a little bit more and I'll describe. Habalchai, animals, that's the vessel to the Neshama level. Hamidaber, the speaking, that is a vessel to the Chayat level. This is the secret, he says, Adam nefesh chaya. This is why the verse in Genesis says, and behold, Adam became a living soul. Elohim arba yesodot. These then are the four foundations, again, corresponding to the four elements. Okay, up until here. Let's describe, all right, because we're really running short on time. Consciousness. We call consciousness levels of soul. When you're a consciousness of just your physical environment, we call that your nefesh level of consciousness. When you're in touch with your emotions, your emotional soul is called your ruach. That's emotional, ruach consciousness. When you're a very cerebral intellectual and you're in touch with your thoughts, that's, if you will, neshama consciousness. When you are in touch with the deeper essence of your humanity, your imagination, your ideals, that's what we call chaya level of consciousness. And that's why he quotes here the verse that Adam was called a nefesh chaya. Nefesh, lowest level, chaya, in this case, the highest level. We are thinking, feeling, sentient beings. We understand knowledge as well as compassion. We understand wisdom as well as mercy. All of these things are part and parcel of our human experience. And the greater our humanity, the greater our understanding and tolerance, the greater our wisdom and understanding, our mercy and compassion towards our fellow human beings. This is how and what the real Kabbalah is all about, not just theory and words. All righty. I see that we've kind of come to the end of our time for today. So I'm going to eventually mark my book here. Hold on a second. You know what? These are the four foundations. Blah, 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 blah. Yeah, okay, I'll conclude. I thought maybe I'd read some more, but yeah, I want to keep it close to the 50-minute mark so we don't go too long in these live classes and such. But anyway, so that's pretty much it. I'm going to try to look at some of the comments here and see what some of the people said. Somebody's asking me here, would this be like the Christed or the Buddha consciousness? Yeah, I know people talk of Christ consciousness or Buddha consciousness and the like. Is that really the enlightened consciousness? It may be, because I think that, in quote, words like Christ consciousness or Buddha consciousness are just that, words. Who defines and describes what that is and what it isn't? Every time that I've apparently spoken with Christians who are, in quote, spiritual or enlightened, and they speak of Christ consciousness, they make it very clear to me that as a Jew and as a rabbi, I can never have Christ consciousness. I can never understand Christ because, being Jewish, we don't believe in the same Christian theology as they do. So I don't consider such divisiveness and exclusiveness to be in any ways the enlightened soul and spirit of which I speak. Whereas I have known many in both many Oriental different traditions who do have that universal understanding of things, people like the Dalai Lama, amongst others. Yeah, I'm pretty comfortable with them. Whereas the other guys, what can I say? They're the exclusionists. Is that a word even? Well, that's what they say. So what can I say? All righty. Are some religions more enlightened than others? That's a good question. I'm not sure any religion is enlightened. I think individuals are enlightened. I don't think there's any one religion that is necessarily more spiritually valid than another. I think every religion has its spiritual values for those who seek it from within. Certain religions have more of a historical legitimacy than others, meaning there's more historical validity to the claims that they make theologically. But I'm not here to argue or challenge anybody's faith. I don't care what a person believes. I don't care what faith you are. You want to sit and learn Torah? By all means, you're welcome here as far as I'm concerned. You believe whatever you want. I just hope and pray that makes you, excuse me, a better human being. That's what it's all about. So I don't care about your theology. I don't care about your beliefs. I just care what you do. I care that you're a decent moral person. All right. So let's conclude it on that note then. Thank you again all for joining me for our first lesson. I hope I've made some of this Kabbalah relevant, and practical that you can actually use to empower yourself. That's what these lessons are all about. God be willing, we'll have more to come. Again, if you're interested in more deeper lessons, consider becoming a student of our Kosher Torah School student body for a minimum donation of $50 a month. You have access to all the private classes that I teach on a live, weekly basis, as well as access to me. I hope it's worth something, and I pray that you might consider it. We always get by with the help of our friends. Thank you all for joining me. See you all next time. God bless. Shalom.